Okay, so I wanted to put this together for my car, just to kind of give a rundown on this car. This is a 1972 Ford Gran Torino Sport, Q code, factory 351 Cleveland, 4-barrel, 4-speed top loader, wide ratio, 350 rear end gear set with a factory nodular center section. The car had sat in a barn from about late 85 going into around 2000, 2001 when I drug it out of the barn. I spent 9 years pulling the car apart, piecing it back together with parts off of 4 other cars, and making numerous trips. Went out to California, bought a parts car to get the hood, got the doors, got the deck lid. Went up to Niagara Falls, Canada, and got NOS fender skins to reskin the factory fenders on this car, just because of being an Iowa car. This car has been on multiple hot rod power tours. It's been driven. The mileage on the odometer was about 103 when I pulled it out of the barn. It had been sitting in for about 17 years. And then right now it's around about 136. But yeah, I've put some miles on it. But just kind of doing a walk around, and I'll go over the drivetrain and everything else. Rolling stock on the car are US Mag 18-inch daisies. These are no longer in production, but the fronts are, I believe they're 18 by 8 front, 18 by 8.5 rears. I forget the offset, but rear wheel drive offset for your typical car. 5 on 4.5 bolt pattern. Quarter panel on this side has been replaced with a section of an NOS quarter and then a Tabco quarter at the bottom. It was damaged, it was wasted, so we replaced it. I'll go around the car and I'll go over the good and then I'll go over the negatives. Dual exhaust on the car. It was bent up by a shop I use up in Omaha, Nebraska. All pro muffler, full 2.5-inch front to back. It has old Dynamax Blackjack 351 Cleveland headers for 2-barrel heads. For street car application, it's fine. Tips are stainless Edelbrocks, kind of match what was on the car. Basic items here, key lock assembly here. These were NOS Ford pieces. They are black instead of red because I wanted black and silver instead of red and gold. These were NOS pieces I got off of eBay at some point when I was in the process of restoring the car between 2001 and 2009. Still wearing factory quarter panel on this side. I did have a small patch down here that was welded. Fixed the wheelhouse and fixed that. Doors came off the car out of California. Both doors were completely sandblasted inside out. Biggest issue is on this door. I'll go through it. It does have a small amount of bubbling rust. As you can see here, the bottom of the door is clean for the most part, except for here. I did strip the doors, recoated them, but that is the worst rust on the whole car. Again, fenders, they were reskinned with NOS fender skins I got out of a guy with rancheros out of near Niagara Falls on the Canada side. Drove up and got those years ago. Factory rammer hood came off of California car. I picked up for parts. Valence came off California car. Bumpers have been smooth. Jack openings here filled and welded shut. Bumper bolts also, no bumper bolts, filled and smooth, front and rear. One of the things I will bring up is this car's been driven, so it does have Small rock chips I've tried to touch up, but the cars, I built this thing to drive. Last year we did a power tour, and then I did another trip out to Colorado, and probably put about maybe 4,500, 5,000 miles on the car last year with the fresh drivetrain in it, which I will go over here soon. But there are rock chips on the lower valence. But somebody could pull that off, have somebody paint it, but again, it's a driver, it's been driven, so I do have little rock chips. I haven't touched it up. Regarding the hood scoop, at some point had a rock chip here. I don't know how, but this is something I point out to people just because if you look on the hood scoop, you can tell where I accidentally over tightened this, and because this is a pot metal piece, I did not bother to try and straighten it, but that happened years ago after the car was painted. Paint has light swirl marks. I have not buffed the car out recently. The paint is sickens. Yellow color is factory Ford medium bright yellow, factory color, and then the gray is a 2009 Ford charcoal color. Crown Vic's F-Series had this color on it. I do not recall the code, but I can find that out later, and I'll put that information up in the listing. On the passenger door, there is a minor rust bubble down here, but this is all factory original, so I mean it's got a minor rust bubble. Regarding the interior, these are Lincoln Mark 7 buckets on the factory Torino seat tracks that came out of this. The factory buckets that came out of this car. Factory console. Transmission's a Tremec TKX 5-speed. We'll go over the drivetrain here shortly. But rear seat on this is for this particular seat came out of, I want to say, a 2000 era Crown Vic or Mercury Grand Marquis that me and a friend had reupholstered with material I had. This is factory Ford Thunderbird material that we used on the seats. It was just something that when I reupholstered the Mark 7 buckets, I had T-Bird material, and that's what we used on this. I live in the Midwest, and I don't like sweating on leather. So, but did this interior probably 2011, I think, is when we did the interior in this car, about a year after it was painted. So I'll walk around back again. I'll roll the windows up. I have to pause it here for a second. So on these cars, you have the trunk flipper. You get that. Again, with the rear bumper, there are no jack holes. All of the chrome bolts the bumper bolts were cut off and smoothed by Bumper Shop up in Sioux City or Sioux Falls or Sioux City, Nebraska years ago. Bumpers were done triple plated chrome circa 2011. These bumpers were actually redone twice because the first time go around I didn't like it, and they smoothed them again and redid the chrome twice. So the chrome shows really nice on this car. It's maintained itself really good. But the rear exhaust tips, these are Edelbrock stainless tips. Earlier I said that. On the trunk, basically this is, I'll go over the brake system shortly. Underneath the cover here is a 2000 Crown Vic 16 by 7 inch or 7.5 inch steel wheel off of a Crown Vic police car. This car cannot run 15-inch wheels. I will explain that more shortly. But this car, again, this is a driver. I built this, I've driven it, I've used it on multiple trips. We take it on trips in the summer. I live in the countryside of Kansas, and if I want to go for a drive, I have to drive at least a minimum of 4 hours round trip usually when I go on my road trips. Or if I go to Kansas City, it's a minimum 3-hour round trip. This car is built to drive. There's room to put your car show seats over here in this quarter. This is a dual 12-inch subwoofer box that I built to fit the trunk. And then this is just an amp rack. This amp, I believe a diode is blown. I replaced the head unit, left this here because it matches the 2 subwoofer amps, the monoblock amps up there, 1 amp per sub. If the owner that decides to buy the car doesn't want the subs, we can work something out, but otherwise the stereo system goes with the car. Kenwood door and deck speakers, just 6x9s, not too special. The Sony head unit has a built-in 200 watt Class D amplifier, so it pushes more power than you ever need for what this car is. It sounds good, it's clear, it can be quite loud.
Have you heard the story of the hot rod race when the Ford and the Lincolns were set in the pace? That story is true, I'm here to say, because I was driving a Model A.
Biggest thing is if you got to get the tire out, it's annoying, but you have to undo these bolts and the whole board comes out of the car. The power cords, everything was left along for that purpose. Deck lid came off a California car, repainted fully, clean seams, everything else. Now, one of the things regarding this car, has been pretty good. The biggest issues is since putting the drivetrain in the car and the increased horsepower and the torque that the current Cleveland that it is in here right now. The original block numbers matching is back in the car, board 30 over. We'll go over the drivetrain here shortly. With the drivetrain and the gearing, rear axle is I went from the factory original small bearing 9-inch and I changed it out to a 1976 big bearing 9-inch. It is still rolling with the standard roller bearings. It does not have tapered bearings in the back. For my application, I'm not autocrossing it. Mainly just driving it, enjoying it, and I've thrown this thing in the curves more than enough times. Never had issues with the rear end because it's a Ford 9-inch. Biggest issue we've had is with the increased power and torque under the hood. I have run into an issue with both quarter panels where there's minor cracking on the quarters. This happened within probably the last year and a half, 2 years since I really started driving the car, and I don't know if it's just the twisting from the drivetrain or what, but roof skin was replaced. This was originally a vinyl top car. Holes were welded shut, and I replaced this roof skin off of another car that had a good roof off of it. This seam was filled. It was ground out. All the lead was pulled out, and then I went back, welded it solid, backfilled it with all metal filler, and then a skim coat of fiberglass short hair, kitty hair filler, and then your typical small amount of filler. This car was stripped completely to bare steel by myself, and it was done over a course of, from 2001 to 2009. It took me a long time to get the car painted, but I took my time, did the bodywork, panel at a time. Basically, the car was stripped, sprayed in epoxy, and then I body worked it, and then I did a panel at a time. On the passenger side quarter panel, same issue. This crack is a little more pronounced. It's roughly, I want to say, probably about 3 inches long. I don't have a tape measure, but I covered it with 3M bug guard because I just didn't want water getting into there. Again, it's just nothing I can do, and I'm not going to repaint the car at this point. But regarding the paint on the passenger side of the car, at one point I stuck the car in a ditch. I went went down a road, made a mistake, slid the car off of the road into a ditch, and I had to back this car out of about 400 feet of ditch, and it was coated in mud and gravel and everything else. So from the lower body line down, front fender lip down, all of this is coated with I believe it was a Worth or a 3M automotive rocker guard, and the guy that shot this car, Matt Hafke out of Omaha, he used to run a restoration shop where he did a lot of Porsches, did some Ferraris, did a lot of Mopar stuff, and with this, the biggest issue is with this particular paint damage, this is where the rocker guard is. I haven't wanted to cover this up because I'm selling the car. If I was keeping the car, I was going to cover it up this year, but all I was going to do was get a charcoal gray 3M vinyl and have a vinyl shop do the whole bottom of the car. But I just didn't want to cover this up with me selling the car. I just wanted to be upfront, truthful about it. But it's, it's a rear-wheel drive car, and the rear tires on these things are 295 45 18 Nitos, and they're big. They kick up rocks. The car gets driven. It's got rock chips. Bottom edge here, just small rock chip on the very bottom back edge of the door and the front edge of the quarter panel. I do have some touch-up paint that is still good, but it's a case I just haven't touched it up. At one point I did touch that up. This goes back to the incident, I don't know how long ago, at least 12 years ago. I've touched it up, but like this has been like this for over a decade, and I just never bothered to cover it up. And I suppose I might as well elaborate on this. So I believe these are 70 Cobra, the reflective stripe at night, and then on the dash there's also a Cobra emblem. This car is a Cobra Jet. It's a factory Cobra Jet, and it's my own personal joke. It's my car. It was my car. I built it how I want it, so it came as a factory Cobra Jet, so therefore I'm putting the Cobra stickers on it. Don't like it? You can peel them off. Anyways, again, replaced this decal here about a year or two ago with another reproduction one. This is the reflective material at night, so you hit it with a light and it's kind of got the nice reflection to it. But so front tires were replaced last spring before I went on a hot rod power tour. Front rear tires, Nito 555 series. These are 255 45 18s. Yes. Yep. And I've run the car as high as 135 with the drivetrain in the car. Right now there is a little bit of a vibration shake. The pinion needs to be adjusted on the rear end. On the rear suspension, aside from a fully rebuilt 9-inch, all new bearings, Timken bearings in it, quick performance out of Ames, Iowa, rebuilt the factory nodular 9-inch differential in 2021. It has 370 gears in it because, again, this is a driver. I didn't want to have 411s. This thing will do burnouts no problem. I just wanted to have something, the gearing that would work with the combo and the 5-speed. Transmission in the car is a Tremec TKX from Modern Driveline, purchased 2023, and finally got to really drive it in 2024 after 2 rebuilds on the 351 Cleveland. Drive shaft was made by a shop in Topeka, Kansas, and was spun balanced to a very high RPM. We use Spicer U-joints in it. Everything's been greased recently. But there is a pinion vibration once you get to about 95 to 110 miles an hour. I'm getting the vibration in the rear end, and that needs to be looked at. Just making the buyer aware. If you keep it under 80 miles an hour, there is no vibration. It's great, but I just feel it's an issue of the spoon rear control arms, upper and lower. The lowers are adjustable. They may need to be pulled out of the car and matched back up to the factory control arms. I have a spare set of factory control arms that'll go with the car. The next owner can pull those arms out and reset them, or they can have a shop do it. Okay, I'll open the hood here. Real quick, couple minor things. Again, going over the paint. There are small rock chips here and there because the car's getting driven. There is a small mark here. Something got pressed on the paint. I believe it was a belt buckle at one point. And there's kind of a nasty chip right here that has been touched up. All right, pause it here. Okay, so we're gonna go over drivetrain under hood. On this particular car, the block is numbers matching, original to the car. I had the block hot tank shot blasted, so it literally came out looking like a brand new block. And then it sat on a stand. This block actually sat from about 2001 until the end of 2022. It sat on a stand, wrapped up in plastic, coated in oil. This particular block is a factory 4-bolt main block. It's got the original main caps in it. Late 22, early 23. The original builder, machine shop, engine builder on this engine put the engine together. Things were not done correctly. It ate the mains, ate the crank, and I had to have it pulled out and rebuilt. Around Thanksgiving of 23, I took it up to a gentleman's shop, Dr. Z's Rod Shop up in near Detroit, and he pulled the engine out of the car, rebuilt it. Also went through, checked a few things, and put it back together for me. Regarding the build on it, it is a 30 over. It has forged flat top pistons in it. Cylinder heads are Edelbrock RPM heads, Performer RPMs, RPM air gap intake, Edelbrock 1913 1800 CFM AVS2 carburetor. Camshaft was spec'd by Scott at MPG Heads. 540 lift. Roller lifters on the heads are Harlan Sharp roller rockers. Push rods were custom length to work with the lifters, the roller lifters, and the valve train. Front belt drive is a CBF Racing Raptor system, running 134 Freon in it. Their one wire 140 amp alternator. I recently last summer I replaced this power steering reservoir pump, and then I did a new custom heavy duty line. The line's rated for 5,500 PSI. You will never blow that thing, just no matter how many RPM you decide to spin with this thing. I have spun this regularly to 5,500, 6,000, shifting it on the street, and the thing just goes.
Does that answer your questions?
MSD ignition front to back on it. Relays for the fans and the ignition system. There is a backup over here for the cooling fan system. The relays for the MSD and the cooling fans are all the same, so you can plug and play in case you lose one. There is a spare backup sitting right there. Motorcraft battery, either 21 or 22. I replaced the battery in this, but it's Motorcraft battery from the local Ford dealership. Wiring for the stereo system that goes in the back. It's got a high amperage line, 4-gauge line going all the way to the trunk to run the amps. Just trying to think of anything else. It was also wired for the higher amperage alternator, and everything was replaced. New copper was run and all that. So overall, air conditioning wise, in addition to this is a parallel flow condenser. This is the largest one I can fit in this car. I don't remember where it came from. Again, I did cut this radiator support for this overflow bottle. I do have these pieces. I'll put it in the car in case somebody wants to get rid of that and weld the radiator support back. Cooling system on the car. Champion 3-core aluminum radiator running dual 14-inch ball fans. Wiring pigtail down there. I went with an oversized trolling boat motor connector because of the inrush current when the fans kick on. Each fan is wired to their own 40 amp relay. I just wanted to make sure that it was wired and could handle it with no issues. On the AC system, right now, the AC system, you have to manually turn the cooling fans on if you want the AC, if you're going to run the car with the AC, so it can pull air through it. I do have a trinary switch. When I redid the hoses in 23, there is a trinary switch here. I have not bothered to wire it up, but it's here ready to go. The AC system in this car does work. In 23, I did pull the dash out of the car because it needed a heater core. There is a control cable in the dash that is for the temperature, for the cool and the heat. AC is fine. Right now it's having an issue getting enough hot air in here, and I believe it's because the cable that goes from the control over here in the dash to this, it hangs up and will not go all the way over like it needs to. But as far as summertime, the air conditioning works pretty good. Personally, I would honestly consider looking at a vintage air unit or Restomod AC and go with the Haymaker S system in here. And the Haymaker S will fit in here. I've worked with the AC system in this car for years, and it's done an okay job. When I did the heater core, I did also replace with a replacement cooling, Four Seasons cooling fan in here. And these cars with the aftermarket stuff, it'll cool, but it just does not seem to cool that good, even though I've had the vent temps fairly cool down here below 50 degrees. It's been, I think I've had the temperature as low as 46, 47 degrees Fahrenheit. But I don't know if I really have anything else. Other minor things. I have the factory 4-speed pedal. This particular pedal, I actually swapped in a modern driveline pedal because my factory pedal had a lot of wear and I didn't feel like welding it up. But it is an identical match to the factory 4-speed pedals that these cars came with. The car is tinted. I forgot to do this. So this car is tinted with 3M tint. The tint job was done over 10 years ago. We had to have the glass out of the car. The window tint is 3M. It is 20% all the way around. So depending on your local tint laws, The next owner will have to be mindful of that. But warm weather driving, the tint absolutely makes a huge difference on this car. At nighttime, I will be honest, I find myself having to roll the windows down because looking out the back of this car with 20% tint when it's really dark out is a bit of a bear. This is just for verification for bring a trailer. There's the factory VIN code. Again, the car was stripped, everything bare steel, and then started ground up. Here is reproduction door sticker that I had when I got a copy of the original one redone. This gives the breakdown, VIN, breakdown of the car, just so that way it's there. Other minor things that I did on this car when I built it, when I put it together, is I spent a lot of time trying to gap the doors so things looked right. On the doors, mainly I was worried about the gap of the door between the door and the quarter panel. And I spent a lot of time welding, grinding, so that way your door gaps looked good. Go back over here to the passenger side. And same thing. I just tried to get the door gaps to be right. These cars from the factory, it's just a case where the gaps are big and there's not much you can do about it. It's just they have big door gaps at the front of the door. To illustrate the example of the air conditioning with this car, right now the car idle is a little high because of the GM one-wire alternator kit that came from CVF. I have it idling around 1100 RPM just because with the dual cooling fans and stuff and the hit it does on the electrical system. Down here is a manual override button for the cooling fans. Fortunately, I've never gotten it wired in, but for the air conditioning system, there is a high idle solenoid. Again, another Edelbrock piece. Okay, so I had to get the trunk cleaned out because I had, all the stuff I always keep in the car, but I wanted to just go over the trunk real quick. So this is a subwoofer enclosure I built for two 12-inch subs. And then there is the amp rack. Stated in the earlier walk around I did on the car, this amp has a blown diode in it, but the two subwoofer amps are still good. I'm assuming there's a bad resistor or something in the amp. The one I had in here before, we lost. There was one of the main MOSFETs on the board. I still have another one of these that if somebody was in electronics, I could throw in, but realistically, update the amps, put Class D amps in here if you like good music. The head unit puts out more than enough power that this amp could realistically just be deleted from the system, but it matches the two sub amps. Regarding the trunk floor, so the old trunk was coated in, I forget if it was 3M or Worth, but it was a trunk material. And then underneath the carpet's a little ragged, but it's actually got, I think, an aftermarket piece, or it was, one piece was from an Elite, and the other one was, I think, from a Torino. I really don't remember, but the trunk floor, basically, if you see here, this floor was stripped and cleaned and painted. It did get like a texture on it. There is a patch. I can't pull this up because this box, there is a patch on the trunk floor over here where I cut out another trunk floor and replaced it. And it was treated and then sprayed and everything else. But there was a patch done on the trunk floor because it had little pinholes, and I just cut a floor off of another good clean Western Nebraska car that had a good clean trunk on it, just to patch that floor. To access the spare tire right here, you have to undo these bolts and these bolts, and then this whole tray will slide out of the way if the trunk is empty. The wiring, there is excess wiring in here for the speakers because I've had like 3 different audio systems in this car, and I am just not deleting the stuff. There's some extra wires over here. Again, RCA cables, they're underneath the carpet. I did not bother pulling them out because I didn't feel the need to. I rewired the stereo system when I put the Sony head unit in that's in the car now. But it's like 4-gauge wire from the battery, from the supply up off of the battery to back here. So, again, any questions, let me know. So, just take it for a quick little drive here, just around town. This car was built to go down the road. It was built to take on trips. It was built to cruise. Some stuff I didn't mention earlier. The front end of the car is slightly lower, using 2000 Crown Vic front coil springs, Moog part number 80090. A lot of the guys in the Gran Torino Sport community were using that particular spring, and in my case, I cut, I want to say, a coil or coil and a half out of the front end, and the car is sitting at static height. Front suspension is from Little Shop Manufacturing. The upper control arms or tubular arms that they did, it slightly adjusted the suspension angle on the front, and the lower strut rods were replaced from PNT manufacturer, Pure Muscle Technology. Replaced the strut rods with factory strut rods with theirs, just because there was a lot of rust in the factory pieces. They had been sandblasted and coated for 20 plus years ago. The strut rod bushings have been replaced with spherical bearings from Little Shop Manufacturing to tighten up the front end. Rear coil springs are for stock Ford 75, 76 Ford Torino. And then the shocks front and back are KYB. Front brakes. Yeah, that's well, I'm braking into a corner. So front brakes on this car are a mix of stock Torino spindles, and then it has 2000 crown thick disc brakes in the front of it. Calipers are 12.5 inch dual piston calipers, brackets that I made myself. We turned down a set of bearing cups to fit this car off of factory 72 brake rotors. The races and everything else have been replaced in those rotors with Timken bearings. Everything bearing wise was redone in the car for the front end back in winter 22, summer 20, spring of 23. I wanted to do a refresh on it because the car had been driven. I've driven this car and enjoyed it. It's a case where sometimes she's due for a little bit of work, and that's what I did. Exhaust system, I'm pretty sure was done summer of spring of 22 before I went to the Carlisle All Ford Nationals out couple other issues that are worth noting is, like I said in the previous walk around, the headliner on the car. When we did this headliner back in 2010 before we did Hot Rod Power Tour. When I had the glass taken out of the car, the headliner got a little messed up, and it's just, when they did the glass, the headliner got a little boogered, but it's just, the headliner's never been really taut on the inside, and honestly, it needs another headliner. I've just never worried about it, but it's just back around the window, it's a little bit loose, and it's just the headliner in general it's just kind of, this is all insulation up above here, but some of the insulation, it's like there's 2 layers of insulation up above here, but it's just the headliner it's not perfectly smooth. So just want to make sure I noted that. So one of the areas I didn't detail properly on the original video, and I will add this into the edited one for the listing, is there's a patch panel in this section where I had to patch this section of the quarter panel right through here, and right about where that little dirt speck is, you can't really see it on camera, but there is a slight ridge. The light will just kind of catch it every once in a while. You can kind of just see it, and that's something that's been like that for a long time. I just want to make sure that I noted that